Hey everyone, Azsry here. Today I'm going to be going through how to port a weapon from Modern Warfare Remastered into Black Ops 3. So the first thing you need to do is go into Modern Warfare Remastered and go into a private match, and then go create a class and find the gun that you want to port. So for this one I'll do the Mini Uzi. And then we also need Wraith, and in the settings first we need to make sure that show X models and show X items are ticked, export format is TIFF, and patch normal maps is ticked. And then in models that we export images with the model, and then that we're exporting a .ma, and optionally if you want to skip the mayor step you can also export to xmodel export. And then in animations we need to use the note tracks from the animations, and then make sure that the .canim checkbox is ticked. And then if you don't have the canim tools, you can click on the button down here to go to the wiki page and find out how to install it for Mayor. And then now we can close out of that and click in your game. Go to the create a class menu and then hover over the weapon that you want to port and press space to go to the firing range. And then once you're in here and load it up, you go click load game in Wraith. And then here you have to find your SMG, so it's the Mini Uzi, so you see all the animations are here. So we can export all those first. Just highlight all of them and click export selection. And then now we can scroll down to the models, and then you can see we have a few models here for the Mini Uzi. We need the lobby model to get the dry textures, and we also need the VM wet camo to be our view model. And then we also need the world model that I'm not seeing here, so I'll just export these two first. I'll search Mini Uzi. Yep, so I'll just need to actually start the game now. Alright, and once we're in, we just need to select the class that has the weapon. And then if we click load game again, wait for that to happen, and then search Mini Uzi, you see that we now have the NPC wet camo, that's the world model, so we need to export that one too. And once we've done that we can also just close out of Modern Warfare Remastered, and also close out of Wraith. So I'll just locate those files that we just created, and they're in exported files, Modern Warfare RM, and X models. So I thought by date modified, you see the three here at the top. So what we need to do first is create the animated model. So to do that we need to open up the scene for the Uzi view model. Make sure you're using the wet camo version, because the lobby version will not work for the animated model or for your animations later. Okay, now that we've loaded into Maya, you see that our Uzi is completely white. So just make sure that your renderer is set to legacy default viewport, and we can press 6 to see all the textures. And you see that it has all these lines on it. That's alright because it's using the wet camo textures at the moment, but because we exported the lobby model, we have the dry textures as well. So what we do now is go to the folder with our Mayo scene, and there's also a bind script here. You just need to drag that in and wait for it to say the model has been binded. We can save that now. And then while that's saving, just open up the H1T7 rig that I'll leave in the description. So this will let us convert animations from Modern Warfare Remastered into Black Ops 3. So I'll just quickly open that. Now you can see it's down at the bottom there, so what we need to do is click on the Modern Warfare link button. The download for all of these icons will be in the description and how to install them. So we click on that and see it puts it right in the middle for us. So we can save the scene and call it Uzi Base. And then to make it an animated model, we need to link it to the Black Ops 3 hands. So we click on this Black Ops 3 MW link button, and then you won't see it move, but then now it has actually connected it into the Black Ops 3 bones under tag weapon right for us and renamed it to tag weapon. So then what we do is we go to Call of Duty Tools, Export X Model, and then here we need to select everything under T7 tag view. So we select that and go select hierarchy, and then we also need one mesh from the T7 hands, so I choose this one, and then we just pull that off, and then we can go choose where we're going to save it. It will automatically put us in our model export directory, so that's nice. And I'll just make a H1 folder here, and I'll right click, go new folder and call it the Uzi, and then here I'll call it the Uzi animated, and then we export that and don't save changes. And once that's done, we can reopen the base, and once we've reopened it, you'll see that the gun is actually back under the H1 joints. Over here is tag weapon, and then the gun itself is J gun. That's correct. So then what we do now is we use the C tools and click on import CAnim. So then we go to our Wraith directory and export the files, Modern Warfare RM XAnim, and then I suggest clicking up here and pressing Ctrl C to copy this, because we will need to be coming back here quite often. And we'll just start from the top. So ADS down, we click on that, and then in after you've imported it, we need to click on this link T7 H1 button again, and then we go to export XAnim, and then over here we hide the H1 joints, and then under T7 joints we need to select tag view and tag torso, because this is a ADS animation. So once we've done that, we go to slot 1 and then choose frames 0 to 13, and then click the 3 dots to show where to export it. It'll bring us to the XAnim export folder, so we go to H1, and then I'll make a new folder here called the Uzi, and I'll call it ADS down, and then export selected, and then don't save changes to the base. And then we just go file, recent files, and open up the Uzi base again. Don't save. And then we're back with what we had before. So we go back to C tools, import CAnim, and then here's where we paste in the directory and press enter, and we're back in the XAnim folder. So then we go to the ADS fire CAnim. Make sure you have the one not for the ACOG. And then got the wrong one. There you go, so you can see now it has a fire animation. So what we do for normal animations that aren't like ADS down and ADS up is we go choose the frame range, which is 0 to 6 in this case, and then we make sure to click link T7 H1, and then here we need to select tag torso, tag cambone, and go select hierarchy, or you could, if you have these tools downloaded, you can just click on this T7 hierarchy button and it will select it automatically for you. And then we just need to save selection and then press the 3 dots, go to H1, Uzi, and then go call it ADS fire and export selected. Remember to never save the changes to the base. And then we just go file and reopen the base. And don't save changes. And then we just keep doing that for every animation here. Just remember that ADS down and ADS up, you only need to select tag view and tag torso, and for every other animation you need to select the proper hierarchy, which you can do by selecting by clicking on this button here. But always remember that you need to click the T7H1 link button first before clicking the bones button, otherwise your gun joints won't be exported. So I'll speed this up now and then I'll be back when they're done. Okay, so in some animations you will see that there's one frame where it will randomly go back to the idle pose, like that. So what you can do to fix this is that you go to Windows and Hypergraph Hierarchy. Click on the first icon over here to make everything visible and highlight all the nodes there. And then right click on the frame that has the idle pose. It's normally frame 32. And right click on it and then go delete. And you'll see everything just shifted over a bit, but then if you go back to watch it, it'll fix the issue. So that's just a little tip in case that you're encountering this issue as well and haven't fixed it by the time you've tried to port a weapon. Okay, so one other thing that you might want to do is get the note tracks from the animations. So the way you do that is go to the Uzi base, import your CAnim, and in this case I'll do the reload animations. And once that is loaded, in your export xanim window you can click on grab notes here, and if it says oops, sorry, you need to refresh it. Okay, so if they don't show up after clicking grab notes, you might not have the updated version of the COD Mayor tools. I'll leave a link to one that I've updated in the description, or if Ray decides to update his, then you can download that and click on Call of Duty tools here and reload script after updating it, and then it should work. So then after you've clicked on grab notes, you just need to go and click on the T7 joints again and then choose your frame range, which is 75 in this case. Choose where you're going to export it, and this is the normal reload, and then just export as normal. You see there that there was like a little glitch around here, and for some reason it goes back to the idle pose. So what you can do is go to the hypergraph hierarchy, click on the first icon here, and highlight everything, and then on frame 32 just right click and go delete, and then when you play it back you see that the issue is now gone. So we can just export everything again. Make sure you select the correct joints and then export, and then I'll do the same quickly for the reload empty. So we're just going to import the reload empty animation, and then in our export xanim window we just need to make sure to refresh it. So we need to click on slot 1 and change it back to slot 1, and we need to link our weapon and then click on grab notes. All those will come in, and we click on the bones button to select the correct bones and then choose where we're going to export it. So then this is reload empty, and then go export selected and choose no to save changes. Make sure you put the correct frames in as well. So it's 101 and an export. And you see I just forgot to change this frame 32 issue again, so click on this, select all nodes, and then just delete that frame, and we'll just export that again quickly, and the issue is now gone. Okay, so once we have all those done, what we need to do is go to our Black Ops 3 directory, and then here we can let's see, we also need to do the view model, because by default the root bone is called J-gun, but then we need it to be called tag weapon. So what we do is we go to our Wraith folder and then find our view model, this one, and then it's already been bound, I think, so let's try. Yep, so then we just need to rename J-gun here to tag weapon, and then go export X model, select the two group nodes, and then go select hierarchy, and then in your export X model window just choose where you're going to export it to. so I would put it into the Uzzy folder called Uzzy VM, and save changes yes. And then I'm going to do the same quickly for the world model, so I'll just open that scene and then quickly bind it, and then here go refresh the X model window, select the 2 group nodes and go select hierarchy, and then we just put it into H1 Uzzy WM, export selected and save yes. And once that is done, we need to go to our Black Ops 3 directory and go to model export and scroll down to H1 and Uzzy, and we have our 3 things here. So we need to export these to bin now, and the easiest way to do this is to set it up as a path variable. So set it up in our path variables. So what we do is go to our start menu and type in variable. And you'll see one here called edit the system environment variables, and another one called edit environment variables for your account. I recommend doing it for the whole system, so I'll click on that and wait for the window to show up. And then here we just click on environment variables, and then we find the system variables one down here and find an entry called path. You need to double click on that and it will come up with this window. If you're on Windows 7 or 8, it'll be a tiny window with everything in one line. So here you can see I already have it at the bottom, but what you do is go to your Black Ops 3 directory and find the bin folder, open that and click up here, and it will make it raw text, so you can just go Control C to copy it, and then you go click on I think it's new, and then paste that in there, but I won't do that because I already got another one. And if you're in on Windows 7 or 8 and everything here is in one little box, what you need to do is say the last one here is this one, so you'll see that at the end you just need to put a semicolon and then the path to your bin directory like that, and then after that you can just click OK. And then if we go into a command prompt, just anywhere not in the bin folder, and we type export to bin, you'll see that it now gives us the syntax as if it's running export to bin from inside the bin folder. So that makes it a lot easier here when we're in the model export folder that we need to export. We just hold shift and right click anywhere without any of these files selected. Then you'll see an option here called open command window here. Click on that and we type in export to bin and press a star, which is shift 8. Press enter, and then you'll see all the X model bin files have been generated. So then we also need to do the same thing for the XAnim exports. So we go to H1 Uzzy, and in here we just right click and go open command window and go export to bin star, and once that is done you see all these XAnim bins have been created for us. So we're pretty much done with converting all the animations and the models. So now we'll jump into Ape and start setting up the materials and all the other assets we need. Okay, so once we're in Ape, we just need to click on this button up here to create a new GDT. So I'll call it H1_Uzzy, just to differentiate between any other Uzzys that I might make. And then here I'm just going to right click and go new asset. And I'll start with the X models, so I'll call it Uzzy VM and change the asset type to X model and press OK. And then in type we need to change it to animated, and then for log 0 we click on the 3 dots and find the X model bin that we just made, so sort by type, and then click on Uzzy VM. And then once we've done that, we can see in the previewer that it shows our model but without any textures on it. That's fine for now. And we just need to right click and duplicate that twice. So this first one I'll call it WM for world model and choose our world model bin. And we duplicate it one more time and call it animated. And this will be used later on when we are testing out our animations, just to make sure that they're playing properly. So for the animated model you won't see anything here, but then if you right click and go bones and go draw parenting, and I'll hide the names for now, you'll see that we have our hands here and the weapon bones in the middle. That's correct. So we can go and save those, and then for the view model we'll scroll down a bit and we see a couple of material. So we'll click on the view model here, and then scroll down. We'll see a couple of materials that have the warning sign next to it. So what we do is click on create material, and then I'll set this first one up with lit weapon, and then surface type none, gloss range. We won't touch that for now because we'll be configuring it later for each material. And then what I do is I go back to the view model, click on new asset for the next one, and then press Ctrl A, Ctrl C to copy the asset name, and then I just right click on the material we made before and duplicate it but change the name, and I do that for the other two here. And then this just makes it so then I don't have to keep setting up these top view every time. And when we press Ctrl S to save it, you'll see that our view model is now completely white, which means that it's using the textures or the materials that we made. And then if we go to the world model, you see that it also uses the same ones, but if it has _WM in the name and then it's not using the same materials, you can just use the skin override here to change it to all these material names, because for the most part the world model will use the same textures as the view model. So I'm just going to go find all the textures that we need, and those will be in the Reef folder and under X models. And then here we have the VM wet and then the lobby version. So what we need to do is go to the VM wet, copy all these textures, and then put them in texture assets, Black Ops 3 texture assets H1, and then I'll put this under Uzi. I'll paste these in here. But what we do now is when we scroll up by holding Control and scrolling up on the scroll wheel, you'll see that the some of these textures here have, let's see, some of these have all these like black streaks on to be wet, so that's why we needed the lobby model. And if we go back to the X models folder and find the lobby version, and then we'll see the same texture. I think it's this one. Yeah, we see that this one has none of the wet blotches on it, so we'll just need to copy the dry ones over, and we'll be using those instead of the wet ones. So I'll zoom out here. I'll copy all the ones from the lobby and paste it, and then I will replace files. And you see now it's replaced all the ones, all the specular files and all the normal maps that were wet, and it has made them dry now. So what we do now is, so it has the TGA and TIFF versions. We'll only be using the TIFF version, so that's fine. And we go to our first material here, which is the rail, and then we go click on color map and click OK, and we find the texture we're going to use. But before we do that, what I normally do is I'm just going to get rid of all the TGA files quickly. So I'll just delete these because we won't need them. And then what I like to do is go to each one and rename it a bit something a bit easier to find later. So say this one is like rail, and then it's the occlusion map, so I call it AO. And then this one is the rail specular map. This one we don't really need, it's for the camos. And then, let's see, this is handguard. And then it's the occlusion map, I think. So yeah, it says AO. And then this one is the handguard S. So what I do now is that I've renamed everything. I go here and click on the three dots in our image asset, and I'll find rail here and choose rail C, and then I'll copy this, the URL or the directory for the texture, and then I'll go down to occlusion, click on new image for that, and I'll paste it in here, but then change C to AO, and you'll see it's found the texture for me. So then I'll go ahead and do the same thing for all the other maps, like the normal. And then also the specular, I don't believe they gave me one. They did, yes. But for some textures they don't give you the specular map. So in case they don't, you can just leave this as specular. And then the gloss map here, I'll leave it as just gloss. And then over the top, I changed the surface type to be something like what it should be. So I believe it's made out of plastic. And I'll just save that. And we'll go to the view model now, and you see that it is now textured properly. So I'll just go ahead and do the same for all the other materials with the same process. Okay, so once we've done doing all the materials, we can click on the view model, and in the preview window you see that we have our textured model here. And then if we go to the world model as well, we see that that is also fully textured. So we're done with the models now. We had to compile all the animations. So I'll click on the GDT, right click and go new asset, and call it view model H1 Uzi ADS down, and change the asset type to XAnim, and click OK. And then in the anim file, we need to click on the three dots, find our H1 Uzi directory, and then sort by a type. And you see that we have all our animations here. So we'll just click on the first one, but then I remember the one that comes after it. So then I click on ADS down, and then in the model file we need to change it to H1 Uzi, and then the Uzi animated that we made before. And in the settings we need to make sure that use bones is deselected and type is set to relative. So now we just need to right click and duplicate that, and then the next one was ADS fire. So then I'll click on the three dots for the anim file, and then click on ADS fire, and note that the next one is ADS up. So then I change the file, duplicate, and call ADS up now. And then the next one is ADS up. So then after that is fire. So click on that, duplicate, and rename it to fire. And then next one is idle. So I'll just keep doing the same thing by checking what the next one is, and then renaming it, and duplicating it and renaming it to that. Okay, once we set all these up, we can press Ctrl S to save it, but we need to click on sprint loop and hold Ctrl and click on idle, and then make sure that looping is checked for both of them, and then press Ctrl S to save that. And then one thing we need to do as well is when we go down to the reload animations, we can see it has all our note tracks here. But to make it so we don't have to actually manually input each note track down here, what we can do is go to the the XAnim export folder, and then H1 Uzi, and find the XAnim export for your reload and reload empty. Right click and open them in your text editor. And then I'll just press Ctrl F to find num tracks. And you can see here the ones that we need are prefixed with web mini Uzi. We don't need these two view model small tracks. So what I'll do is press Ctrl H, find what is web mini Uzi, and then replace it with SNDNT, standing for sound note track, and then a hashtag, and then the same prefix that we have here. So then if we go replace all in all open documents, and we press and then we look at what happened, we can see that they now have all these SNDNT prefixes in front. So save that, and we see that the same thing has happened here. And yes, it has. So what we need to do is now reconvert these to XAnim bins. So we go export to bin star, and then in ape, now when we click on these, you see it has these the same prefixes we had before. I'll show you how to use these later, so then we don't have to actually set up all these. Okay, so now we need to create the weapon file. To do this, because I'm doing Modern Warfare Remastered, I can use my weapon converter, but normally what you would do is go to your type filter and type bullet weapon, and then find SMG standard MP, right click and then go copy, and then go back to your H1 Uzi GDT and right click and go paste asset, and you would rename it here to H1 Uzi MP, and then you could start modifying everything in here. The main things you would need to edit are the ammunition, which is here, and then a bit down you need to edit the damage, and then also the multipliers for damage and the state timers. Let's see, the main one you need to change would be reload and the drop raise animations. You can leave the sprint in and slide in animation times the same. And then further down, the most important part is obviously all the way down here with the X models. So you need to change your view gun to Uzi VM, and the world gun to Uzi WM. And then you'd go down here and remove the world clip model and hide any and get rid of any tags in the hide tags box. And you scroll down until you go to the clip and just delete that and zero out all these offsets, and delete the same for the world model. And then we also need to get rid of all these attachment cosmetic variants. Just get rid of all these, and then you can also get rid of the camo. And then here we need to start putting in all the animations that we had before from down here. And then after you've done that, it's essentially done. You just need to change maybe the fire sounds here, so you could just put any alias name in and we'll set it up later. But because this is a Modern Warfare Remastered weapon, I'm going to go get my Call of Duty 4 and go to Raw Weapons MP and find the Mini Uzi, which is this one. And then I've made a weapon converter that you can download from the description as well. So once you open it up, you can just simply drag in a weapon file, and you see it's read everything correctly. So then now we go to the menu, click convert save and convert as single wield, and then now it's giving us a place to select the GDT to add it to. So I'll add it to the H1 Uzi GDT, and once it's done that, you'll see that it has actually added it into Ape here. So I'll right click and rename this to H1 Uzi, and then if we look around, we'll see that everything is set up here for us, but there are a few warning signs. This is left because some of the options in the weapon file are different between Call of Duty games, so you will need to go back and check through everything to make sure it's all correct. So player item type I can leave at handle clip, and then just keep looking down for some any random issues that may come up. And because we've imported the exact weapon file, we have all the correct things here, and then we have all the ammo here, but then remember that ammo clip count relative is unticked, so these are okay. Otherwise, if we had this ticked, you would get like over 3000 ammo. So then tracer type here we need to change to SMG, and then SMG enemy and SMG underwater, and then it set up the damage for us, and all the location damage and the state time is also set up for us. And then we need to go down here to the X models. So then we've named our X models something different, so we need to change those like that. And then default view hand, we need to get rid of that because they don't use this anymore. And hide tags, I'll get rid of these for now. We keep scrolling down, and then you see that all these are actually named differently, because I have all mine here as view model H1 Uzi something. So I will just change this to H1 Uzi idle, and then I'll copy the front part and copy that, and then just keep pasting it in and pressing enter to update them. Like so. and this is a pretty tedious process, but it is definitely much easier than doing it doing the weapon file from scratch. So I'll just keep going through these. It also makes it much quicker because all the stats are identical to the ones from Call of Duty 4. But if you're doing a weapon from a file from a game that doesn't have weapon files, then you will need to do it yourself. So I'll just keep doing this. And as you can see here, the ADS is in capitals, but then mine are not, and 8 doesn't actually pick up that they're the same thing, so just make sure you keep that in mind. And then our additive walk, we can put the Truder's walk animations. So I'll just go VM AP9 walk F, and then additive jump, I just put AP9 jump, and then for the land we put jump land, and then fall we go VM AP9 fall. And then we don't have any of these slide-in animations, but I'll leave a link in the description to a video where you can learn how to make these. And then the melee animations we'll just leave blank. And then keep going down. Swimming we don't need. And then here for the view flash effects, we do need to copy the ones from the CUDA file. So I'll go find the CUDA, and then so we need to select ours first, and then scroll down until we find the CUDA. Hold Control and click on it, and then scroll down a bit until we go back to the FX section, and click on the blue arrow that points to your weapon file. So then it copies over the CUDA's properties to your file. And then we also do need to copy the CUDA's impacts entries, otherwise you won't get any bullet holes when you shoot stuff, and it will look really weird. So then here for the shared sounds, you can use SMG if you want. Ammo pickup is fine. And then here we won't be touching these because we'll make some sound aliases for them later. Just keep scrolling down, and then for the kill cam start fire, you can just copy these over from the normal fire animation for the normal fire field. Loop fire we don't need, and we can just keep scrolling down, and we see there's the reload thing here. We don't need that because we'll be making sound aliases for those too. And then we can copy over some of these other ones that aren't too important. And then fire rumble we can use SMG. And then here for the HUD icon we can just use the CUDA's one for now, or we can actually grab the icon from the COD wiki and then save it as a TIFF and then put it in here. And for now I'll just leave all these the same because they're not that important. So we'll just save that now, and I'll go File and Purge to get rid of any extras. And then we're pretty much done. So what we can do now is go into Radiant and add it to a map. But first we need to right click on the map and go Edit Zone File. And here make sure we have weapon, and I called it H1 Uzi MP. If you're putting it into a standalone mod, make sure that you have weapon full instead of just weapon, otherwise it'll crash the game. Like that. But then for now I'll just be putting it into a map. And then here I just need to open up in Radiant. Okay, and once we're in our Radiant here, we just need to find what's happening. Okay. Yep, so now we go to our entity browser. If you don't have this, you can right click up here and go Entity Browser. And we go under Weapon, and you'll see we have a H1, I have a H1 thing, but it will be down here for you if it's just one file. And then we have the Uzi, so I'll just drop that over here by itself and pull that up a bit. And then in the KVP window, I'll just change Suspended to True and press Ctrl S to save it and close that. And then now I can just tick Compile, Link and Run and click Build, and I'll be back when I'm in game. Okay, so we're back in game now. I'll just quickly go timescale 10 and go over here for our Uzi, pick it up, and then you see give ammo, and now our ADS is working normal. But then we don't have any fire sounds because we haven't actually set it up properly. And you can see that my reload animation is the gun is out of place, but then my reload empty animation is in place. This means that I forgot to click the link weapon link T7 button before exporting it. So I'll just quickly need to fix that later. So that's about it for this tutorial. Hope you learned something, and if you did, please leave a like. If you have any issues, leave a comment or message me on Discord, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Until the next video, I'll see ya.